Welcome again to our series, Questions from the Old Testament. Our question today comes from the Old Testament prophet Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 58, verse 5, the question is asked, "Is such the fast that I choose, a day for a person to humble himself?" To give our question the context, we'll be reading verses 1 through 12 of Isaiah 58. Cry aloud, do not hold back. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. Declare to my people their transgression, to the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that did righteousness and did not forsake the judgment of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to God. Why have we fasted and you have seen it not? Why have we humbled ourselves and you take no knowledge of it? Behold, in the day of your fast, you seek your own pleasure, and oppress all your workers. Behold, you fast only to quarrel and to fight, and to hit with a wicked fist. Fasting like yours this day will not make your voice to be heard on high. Is such the fast that I choose, a day for a person to humble himself? Is it to bow down his head like a reed, and to spread a sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast, and a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover him, and not to hide yourself from your own flesh? Then shall your light break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up speedily. Your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, Here I am. If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and spreading wickedness, if you pour yourself out for the hungry, and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness, and your gloom be as the noonday. And the Lord will guide you continually, and satisfy your desire in scorched places, and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water, whose waters do not fail. And your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. In the world of art, there have been many instances of masterpieces displayed in the wrong position. Van Gogh's Grass and Butterflies was hung upside down in the National Gallery in London. A 15-year-old schoolgirl pointed this out to the museum officials. In the White House in Washington, D.C., a watercolor entitled Autumn Fields was displayed upside down during the Lyndon Johnson administration in 1968. Georgia O'Keeffe's Oriental Poppies painting hung for nearly 60 years in the University of Minnesota Art Museum before someone noticed it needed to be shifted 90 degrees clockwise. On and on it goes that even the keenest of experts can overlook the artist's intent. In the world of faith, there are just as many examples of piety gone awry. A few years ago, there was a craze going around in which it became fashionable for believers to put together a life-size cross and go to prominent events carrying that cross. After all, Jesus did command this in Luke 14:27. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. I recall during a walk across the Mackinac Bridge here in Michigan that a man went by me bearing his cross. But I found it rather odd that he had attached a wheel to the bottom, making it easier for him to bear that cross. Rather ironic, don't you think? Those of the southern kingdom of Judah had their share of problems in Isaiah's day. Some scholars think the fast being referred to here as the Day of Atonement, since it is the only prescribed one in the law. But God challenges them to ask the question, is such the fast that I choose a day for a person to humble himself? In effect, God was not interested in people showing off their false humility. He wanted a true show of humility. He wanted people to look out instead of in. To look out at the world and fix those things that were wanting in society. Poverty, hunger, homelessness, slavery to sin. Fast forward several centuries, and once again the leaders of Judah are consumed with false humility, and over Jesus addresses it. From the washing of hands to Sabbath rituals to fasting and more. The Messiah knows it is all for show and lacks a single grain of humility in it. In one of Jesus' last discourses, he warns of those who fail to look out for the most vulnerable among them. He tells them, "Then they also will answer, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you?" Then he will answer them, "Truly, I say to you, as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me." Matthew 25:44 and 45. I wonder if it's time to put down those crosses and roll up our sleeves and get to work. What do you think? And Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow and look at another question from the Old Testament.